Welcome to a 2v2 on Vaux Farmlands. I actually haven't done a cast on this map in some time. Guess that's just random at this point. I don't even know. But it's good to return. I actually like Vaux Farmlands, even though the south is absolutely covered in these invisible wire fences that are like annoyingly difficult to vault over. I like it just because it seems very balanced. Seems like a very balanced map. I really like the layout. Vision blockers and buildings is the perfect amount. There's not too many. It's not too open either, giving long-range squads too much of an advantage. And you also have the decision to go either south or north. I like the positioning of all the fuel and munitions points. I think it's an excellent map. So I'm always happy to see a cast on this particular map, although I will note that Maxims are a little weak on it. Team weapons in general that cannot vault walls do struggle slightly. Something to keep in mind when you're on the south side of Vaux Farmlands, I think. Aleksey here. Oh, I didn't even introduce our players. Our players are Aleksey from USSR 88 and Aleksandr, Rus. I guess this is a Russian clan. That's my guess. I don't know for sure. Versus Easy Geek, T3dgO, and Chinois. So this is gonna be another clan match. USSR versus Easy Geek Company. And we've got commander selections all around. So far we have Advanced Warfare, Shock Rifle, Breakthrough, and Mechanized Assault. So pretty standard stuff on both sides. We see a lot of Breakthrough. Again, I continue to not really understand the appeal. But we've seen it really successful, so I don't know what it is exactly that makes people pick this commander, but it seems to get the job done for everyone. Pios win the race to that south house. MG42 set up right here will pin down some conscripts, and the Maxim is gonna get light damage from the Pios in here. They're getting brute forced out by the Maxim itself slowly, but the Maxim is also taking damage, and Sturm Pioneers have come up from behind and will force a full retreat. Axis making a big push towards the south with all of their forces. T3dgO has fielded an extra Sturm Pioneer squad and a really early battle group headquarters right here, and a retreat point unlocked. So almost all of his resources at the beginning have gone just into tech. He's only got 2 squads, and so that being the case, it certainly makes a lot of sense to support his teammates, since there's no way he would win an engagement for the north with just 2 Sturm Pioneers. And it looks like they have successfully taken control of all points here in the south. Assault Grenadiers being fielded by Chinois, so he's making heavy usage of the Mechanized Assault doctrine, and he's going to have to be careful to engage at close range when possible. And we also saw one usage of Breakthrough tactics already with his very first 35 munitions to take control of territories in the south a little quicker, I guess. Wait. Well, I don't know. I wasn't paying close enough attention to what he was capturing with those 2 Sturm Pio squads while that was active. But kind of fun to see that used so early in the game, especially since it's your first 35 munitions. That's a big purchase. You kind of want to make it count. I think the duration's a little short. I think a duration bump up to like 2 minutes might make that ability a little more appealing, since OKW really needs that munitions for their Panzerschrecks. But since we're going to see him going battle group headquarters with 2 Sturm Pile opening no Volksgrenadiers into an infantry support gun, I'm thinking he may not be relying on Volksgrenadiers for anti-tank this game. He might just go with some Raketenwerfers and a Jagdpanzer. If he can get that Jagdpanzer out, he'll have a pretty decent anti-tank force. Looks like this engagement is going in favor of the Soviets here. Very late retreat on those Assault Grenadiers. They get wiped, but a Flamethrower will also get picked up by the Sturm Pioneers here on the flank. This squad will get pinned down by the 1 Maxim. This squad's going to fall too low to Conscript and Flamethrower fire, and T3dgO will be forced to make a full retreat. Infantry support gun will start laying fire, and we have a Sturm Officer on the field, so making heavy use of his doctrine. I've never seen Breakthrough used this much, this early. 2 activations of Breakthrough tactics. Didn't do anything the second time, unfortunately. And Sturm Officer already deployed. And I'm curious to see if this can be made to work. I guess we'll find out. Chinois, also utilizing his commander very heavily, has fielded 2 squads of assault grenadiers, one of which has already been wiped, the other one being forced to retreat with 1 man remaining, so it would seem that assault grenadiers are not doing that well, and that's what you kind of expect on this map especially. It's not a very urban map unless you can get some really nice engagements in the tight spaces in the center, or around hedgerows. Hedgerows scattered all over the map, really. You have to be very careful of exactly how you utilize your assault grenadiers, and it just hasn't been working out for Chinois, mostly due to nice Maxim play from the Soviets. Ooh, that was a pretty good hit from the infantry support gun right there. And buying it this early will give it a chance to actually scale decently into the late game, although it has clearly made him kind of weak at the beginning, getting pushed back as it vets up and starts to rack up kills. If they can keep it alive in a 2v2, should be decent. It's not obviously nearly as powerful as the pack howitzer. Ooh! Pack howitzer, Soviet heavy mortar, even the Oster mortar is better. Honestly, it is without doubt the worst indirect fire weapon in the game. But as Oberkommando West, you don't have a whole lot of options, so given this team composition, probably be better to have the Oster player field a mortar instead. Wow, look at that damage. He utilized target them from his Sturmoffizier. Wipes that squad very quick in the red cover. Could see another one go down. It's getting way too close. Just trying to get a Molotov off. That's 2 squads wiped by Sturm Pioneers. When an Oberkommando West player goes heavy into Sturm Pioneers, sometimes the Soviets just aren't expecting it or just not ready for it, and that sheer amount of firepower at close range can get some good early squad wipes and help you resecure your lead. Look at all this damage. And of course the Sturmofficier's bonus being applied to your teammates' squads certainly doesn't hurt either. That is a huge series of victories for the Axis right there. Soviet player getting a little lazy down here in the south. He put squads in these buildings to defend, but he didn't capture the territory first. So the Axis will continue to benefit from those resources as they try and take control of the center. Sturm Pioneer squad very nearly gets wiped out there by a well-placed grenade. Stolen Maxim here, also crewed by Sturm Pioneers. Or no, by regular Pioneers. And T3dgO has fielded himself his first squad of Panzer Fusiliers, so no Volksgrenadiers at all from T3dgO. He's going with a complete breakthrough commander build. No Volksgrenadiers. I kind of like these no infantry builds that we've been seeing lately. I saw a no Grenadier build from Lemon yesterday. We're seeing a no Volksgrenadier build from T3dgO here. Chinois has some Grenadiers, only 1 squad, and the rest is all MG42s though, so they are playing very much their own distinct style this game. And the infantry support gun still not doing that much, really. 2 kills. One of those 2 kills is a flamethrower squad wipe, though. So that's something. And I guess one of the things you might want to take into account when you think of how the infantry support gun performs relative to its cost is how early you can get it on the field. You can get this on the field faster than any other indirect fire piece except for the Oster mortar. The Oster mortar definitely makes it look really awful. The Oster mortar makes most indirect fire look pretty awful, actually. But the pack howitzer, by comparison, has an 80 fuel teching cost from Captain Tier, whereas this has only the 40 fuel tech cost of the battle group headquarters, and US Forces starts with 0 fuel, over Commando West starts with the 40 fuel they need to build this. So you can get this out pretty quick. Time to field is something you might want to keep in mind because it affects how quickly you'll be able to scale up from veterancy. And another thing you want to keep in mind is its range. It does have pretty long range. So even though it's pretty lackluster, it does have some advantages that sort of justify its cost. And we've seen the infantry support gun do amazing things, especially in Fox Rex and Photo when OMG Pop make good use of it to completely shut down Aim Strong on Samoski. But on Samoski, that map just has such that tight choke point there that can really lead to some nice hits by the infantry support gun. In that game, it made its way to, like, what was it, like 40 kills or something like that? And it was a big number. This game, still only at 2. It's really struggling to land any shots. And the Axis are struggling for fuel, but they have an excellent hold on the central munitions, and they have this victory point. So as long as the bleed isn't that fast, they're in pretty good shape. The Allies look like they want to make another push towards the center. We have an Su-76 from Aleksandr, who's gone with Tier 4, and his teammate's gone with Tier 3. So, interesting choice, actually. Forced retreat from the Sturm Officer here in the south, and Sturm Pioneers get a beautiful ambush. Look at that ambush. Despite it not having very good numbers here, they almost wipe a shock troop squad. Oh no, that Su-76 shot was huge though. Beautiful flank by T3dgO, but that Su-76 just wiped that Sturm Pio squad in one hit. Puma moves up to try and get some revenge, but I can't tell who's going to win this. It's going to come down to attack ground, I think. Puma fires first. He's going to move to re-engage with a long shot. He could take this. There it is. Nice micro by that Puma. Doing a little dancing in the smoke. Secures the kill. No anti-tank grenades? Yeah, he does have anti-tank grenades. He just can't quite get in range. That Puma is just barely kiting him. If he had used Hoorah, maybe, but I don't think he has anything to follow up anyway, so... Oh yeah, he does actually. He has a field gun right there. Definitely should have tried to get that AT grenade off. But... Couldn't quite make that happen. Looks like the north is undefended here by Aleksandr. Doesn't have any forces up there, and T3dgO's Panzer Fusiliers are making their way across the north. Should be able to at least get this victory point under control for a while. Shock troops are moving to counter. 2 squads of Fusiliers should be able to win against 1 squad of shock troops if they utilize cover well, but it looks like, I don't know. I don't know how this engagement's going to go. Shock troops are the first to react to this situation. Clumped in yellow cover. Grenade. If he doesn't dodge this, okay. He will retreat. He was a little late to react. If he had been watching the engagement, he could have dodged. He was monitoring something else and then had to retreat as soon as that grenade got tossed. So it looks like the shock troops are going to take this engagement. G43 is upgraded a little too late as well. T3dgO could have won that, but his positioning was off. But he didn't lose that squad to a grenade either, so could have gone better, but could have gone worse. Combat engineers taking control of the munitions here. And the Soviets will still control these 2 south territories with the Maxims in the buildings. We've got a lot of fuel caches going up from Chinois, spending a lot of manpower to sort of bolster the Axis economy a little bit. And he's going to have the command points for a Stug E soon, but because they've got so much fuel, he actually managed to field a Panzer IV before a Stug E, so he may skip past that entirely, bridging the gap with this medium tank, and go straight into a Tiger. And the Soviets, meanwhile, have produced a T-34 here. We've got a half track for reinforcements and no other Tier 4 units yet. He's up to 200 fuel. I think he might just be saving for IS-2, but his fuel count is a little high to go straight for Collins. I think he could get one more Tier 4 unit. Probably a Katyusha would be my assumption. What is that T-34 doing? Panzer IV trying to stay out of range of those conscripts, kiting them. Very nice play by that Panzer IV, staying away from the infantry and hunting down that T-34, which was just sitting there. Not sure what that thing was thinking. Field gun has made it into range to support a little too late. The timing was all off on that engagement. It was all wrong. Panzer IV gets a free kill, essentially. The Puma's been repaired. Ooh, it falls dangerously low, though, to something. I don't actually know what's damaging it here, but it will be forced to pull back. and it doesn't have any particularly important targets to deal with right now other than caches. He spotted the cache with his Fusiliers up here in the north, so that would be the smartest thing to send his Puma to go deal with at this time while there are no enemy vehicles on the field. But for now, it's going to have to pull back for some repairs. Panzer IV continues to do really good work here in the south and should have no problem taking out the Maxims in these defending houses, and Conscript Squad just got cleaned up too. Soviets are just losing troops left and right. Their unit preservation is just all wrong this game. Infantry support gun doing a little bit better. He should probably back it away from this tree a little bit so that it can fire with a lower angle of fire. When it fires with a really high angle of fire, the time for the projectile to land is really long. Grenade gets tossed. Nice dodge. He was monitoring this engagement. Won't inflict any real damage. And at this range, those G43s will easily win the engagement against these shock troops, getting picked off one by one.
We stand at 300 points. Lay footings for Panzer HQ here.
And the Panzer IV has actually had to pull back for repairs, so the Maxims are still in these buildings. He's just going to utilize his assault grenades to clear that position out. So that's good. Also, I don't know if anybody remembers, but these buildings used to be bugged where they would collapse if they took one hit on the door from anything. And I think that's been fixed, because I haven't seen that in a really long time, actually. That used to happen all the time on this map. So that was kind of a ninja bug fixed by Relic. I don't know if that ever got mentioned in patch notes, but good to know. Tier 4 structure going up here in the back. Assault Grenadiers should be able to get the south victory point under control while this force takes control of the middle. So as long as they have victory point control, they're in pretty okay condition. They lost it for a while and are now 150 points behind, so they need to be mindful of that and make good use of their tanks to take back some territory. I don't think any Axis vehicles have been lost yet. Whereas Su-76 has been destroyed, T-34 has been destroyed, all of the Soviets' opening vehicles get taken out. Coordinated armored push by both teammates here. The Puma wasn't really necessary, but sure, a little extra firepower, why not? Ostwind and Panzer IV will be more than enough to clear this position. Conscripts will not be able to do anything down here by themselves. They should just retreat at this point. This engagement is clearly lost. AT grenade goes out on the Ostwind. Maxim gets cleared out, and he's just going to lose these conscripts for no reason. There they go. Two Su-85s queued up by Aleksandr. I thought he was floating for an IS-2, but I guess he changed his mind, decided he needs some anti-tank solutions now. Only 2 command points away from IS-2, but I guess he just doesn't want to stall anymore because their map control is faltering. And if he fields both of those towards the south with conscript support, he could probably probably cause serious problems for these vehicles down here, but there's now a stolen field gun protecting. The Puma is still down here. So that could prove a little dangerous for those Su-85s. Especially since this Panzer IV is now Vet 1 and has access to Blitzkrieg. Firing on the Panzer IV now, and rather than blitzing to attack, it will blitz to safety, and T-34-85 has been called in by Aleksey with his armored assault call-in, which is just a single T-34-85, not two. And he's moving up to clear the AT gun, make a little space for the Su-85s to move up. Taking some time. Infantry making a big push too. Machine gun in that building is not going to last long against that much massed infantry. T-34 continues to force the AT gun to reposition, but it hasn't destroyed it yet. Hull gun gets the job done, even though the main gun doesn't. And the machine gun will simply retreat. It looks like all Axis vehicles are just going to try to pull out of the area completely, since this is a little too much to take on, especially without that field gun. Okay, I take that back. Panzer IV moving to engage. Very dangerous with those two Su-85s down there available to support in the fog of war. It doesn't know where they are. It's going to pull back now. The Puma is in range to support if necessary. Soviet vehicles not going to engage though. Just gonna hold onto this territory, slowly make their way forward. A KV-8 just got fielded by Aleksandr here in the north, and that's going to force a full retreat from T3dgO's infantry, which are harassing the area. Panzer Fusiliers still up here though, so the KV-8 might want to go back up there to finish the job. But all of Aleksandr's infantry is currently tied up in the south anyway. He doesn't have any infantry with which to try and retake that area. Puma finds an opening against that KV-8. Su-85 still way down there in the south. There is another T-34 here though. I don't know, that KV-8's in a little bit of danger. If those Su-85s don't move to support, we could see it go down. And a second Panzer IV is on the field as well. This might be a little too much to take on. Not quite. One Panzer IV will disengage. This T-34 sort of made it to safety. The Su-85s are making their way forward to help in this engagement. Trying to be very careful here. That Puma got caught a little out of position, but it can squeeze through this gap and get to safety. Barely. Pretty close engagement on both sides. A lot of tanks get brought very low, but none are destroyed. A little too timid. Every single vehicle brought too close to being destroyed. Still great vehicle preservation by the Axis there. Much improved vehicle preservation by the Allies. Trying to keep those investments alive. And we'll see conscripts up here. Probably going to get some repairs done on that Su-85 after it clears out the Panzer Fusiliers in this area. And the Maxim in this building, although hitting Vet 2, looks like it's going to get forced out by sustained grenadier fire? I don't know, maybe not. IL-2 Sturmovik gets called in on that squad, forcing a retreat, and then this one, being the only one remaining, decides to just get out of there. Too many shock troops in the area. Target them, goes out on a flamethrower. Sturm Pioneers get some nice hits, but they have to disengage when this KV-8 moves up. Does finish taking control of the territory and will probably be forced to retreat. He does have a Panther now in addition to his Puma, thanks to, of course, these fuel caches really bolstering that Axis fuel income. 23 minutes into the game and he's got a Puma and a Panther. Looking pretty strong in that regard, and 85 more fuel in the bank, so not bad at all. Meanwhile, a huge amount of Tier 3 vehicles being purchased by Chinois. Personally, I think it's too many. I mean, look at his manpower as well. He's got way too much manpower. If I were him, I would have either teched a Tier 4 or started floating for Tiger. Making only Panzer IVs a little bit risky. But if he can keep them all alive as well as he has this Vet 2 one, he'll be in pretty good position. Nice block behind that Su-85. Doesn't respond to this flank at all. Puma coming in from the north, and that's way too much firepower. Perfectly executed flank by the Axis on those two Su-85s, and even if they had responded to try and get to safety, I think they probably would have gotten chased to death without protection from his teammates T-34-85s in the north. Really well timed maneuver. These tanks continuing to engage by themselves are just going to get cleaned up one by one. Look at this. T-34 goes down to this big push, this blitzkrieg by Chinois. And he hasn't even taken a scratch. The Panther and Puma are moving to follow up from behind, and I think that that's going to be the end of the game right there. Soviets don't have anything left. Another Su-85 is in production. The KV-8's available here in the south, but they don't have anything that can take on this sheer quantity of Axis tanks. And that's what happens when you expose your Su-85s to danger in a tight space like this. You really need to take advantage of wide open fields with Su-85s, and you need screening troops to provide vision in the front. You can't just You can't just go in there with Su-85s, because the odds of you getting flanked and overwhelmed are pretty good, it would seem. Axis are pulling back a little bit for now to get some repairs done, while I take control of various territories on the map. Harassment here in the center needs to get cleaned up. Shouldn't be too difficult to deal with, though. A little bit of harassment in the north needs to be dealt with. But this tank army is just huge. Huge fuel advantage over the Soviets, who have lost everything. So much for that squad. Panzer Fusiliers move to wrap up the munitions point. Those conscripts simply retreat. Did they hit a mine or something? I don't know. Maybe they were already wounded. Guess they were already wounded. Fresh Su-85 on the field. Throws tracking on, or focus sight. Focus sight is kind of a double-edged sword. If you're self-spotting with your Su-85, it means you don't have any supporting screening troops to give you vision. So you're going to move at that reduced speed. You kind of want that Su-85 to be as agile as possible when you're up against this, because it takes probably only like 2 volleys to completely destroy your tank, and your tank destroyer. Infantry support gun made it to 20 kills. Pretty respectable for an indirect fire weapon. 20 kills, 30-minute. Wow, did you see that grenade? Wow. Ouch. That's why it's so dangerous to have flamethrowers in a big clump of troops. You really don't want that to happen and just lose you the whole engagement, get you some squad wipes. Not that it makes a difference. This is happening, you know, the game's basically over. Massive armored push into the Allied base. No way of stopping it. That's just adding insult to injury at that point. To remove any semblance of hope. But yeah, 20 kills, not bad for a 30-minute game for an indirect fire weapon. That's the amount you'd expect to see from a Soviet mortar or any form of mortar. Maybe a little bit, a much higher number from the pack howitzer though. Depending on the map and how the engagements go. On this open map, I think that's probably the best you can really expect from an indirect fire weapon, so it gets the job done. It's really way overpriced, it can't retreat. But if you really need an indirect fire weapon early, you know, as OKW you don't really have any other options, so that's pretty typical performance. That's a Vet 4 Puma, by the way. Vet 4 Puma is so dangerous. A high Vet OKW Puma can be one of the most annoying things to have to deal with. Almost more so than a Panther because of its incredible agility and damage. Just because it's got a huge rate of fire and range.
Taking effective fire! The enemy now has 200 points.
And there it goes.
Under fire! Protect the flank!
A high vet any OKW unit is dangerous. That's true. That's true. Especially the IR half-track. That thing, when it gets Vet 5, man.
That's completed.
I'm joking. That it doesn't actually have veterancy. game is over, right? Yeah, there it goes. Okay. Easy Geek Company wins, clearly. Armored Engagements, I think, were the name of this game. Soviet players really let those go poorly. And infantry engagements, honestly, to be fair. At the very beginning, the Axis were very boxed in. Soviets were applying some really good aggression on the flanks of the map, decent fuel control. And eventually, once the armor started coming out, especially really good use of this Puma, the Axis really managed to break free, get resources back under control, and these fuel caches also kind of snowballed the Axis economy way out of control since they were never dealt with. So good game. Axis wins.